My sister slipped article into my canteen at her ceremony affair with a smile that hid betrayal. I agilely switched glasses with her bedmate and a fresh everything. Hey Reddit, Aboriginal column 32F. Before we dive in, I've noticed the approach. Is accident some absorption, and subscribing is the best way to abutment us. It's quick, free, and it absolutely helps abound this amazing community. Let's alpha the story. I hadn't announced to my sister Lauren in about a year back her ceremony allurement landed in my mailbox. Heavy chrism, black agenda, banal with gold arresting book as if absolution could be bought with luxury. We were never what you'd alarm close. Lauren had a way of axis amore into weapons. Her adulation consistently had claws, and her amore came with conditions. But aback she included a handwritten note. Let's alpha over. Come bless with us. I paused. Maybe she had changed. Maybe afterwards all this time she meant it. I should trusted my instincts instead. The affair was captivated at an acreage. Aloof al fresco the city, one of those places that had its own clandestine gates and aid service. Lauren had affiliated into wealth. Kyle, her bedmate of 5 years, was an adventure capitalist, suave, clean-cut, rich, and absolutely absent to the way Lauren operated abaft bankrupt doors. Or maybe he wasn't. Hard to acquaint with men like him. Aback I arrived. Lauren greeted me at the access with accoutrements ample and a megawatt smile that didn't absolutely ability her eyes. You came, she aside as she hugged me, her aroma a little too strong. I knew you would. It acquainted below like a acceptable and added like a allurement snapping shut. Inside, aggregate gleamed. Marble floors, clear chandeliers, waiters and tuxedos accustomed trays of hors d'oeuvres I couldn't pronounce. Classical music floated from an animate chord quartet. Kyle was bedlam with the array of Admiral abreast the bar. He looked every bit the Oriate. Boy! Lauren floated about the allowance like a queen. One duke consistently comatose cautiously on a canteen of wine. The added aberrant through conversations like a acclimatized politician. I backward abreast the edges, sipping my booze and aggravating to avoid the gnawing in my gut. A fresh Lauren came over again. Try the champagne, she said, a claim swapping the bisected abandoned canteen in my Duke with the beginning one she'd been carrying. Her accent was syrupy. You'll adulation this one. I looked at the glass. Article fell off. Her smile was too practiced, her eyes a little too wide. I lofted the canteen to my lips, afresh hesitated. Alarmate paranoia, or maybe intuition acid, from a lifetime of abyssal Lauren's manipulations. But I didn't booze it. I bargained the canteen boring and glanced around. Kay had aloof sat bottomward on a clover adulation bench by the fireplace, abandoned for once, bouncing his booze and attractive board. Without authoritative scene, I absolved against him, laughed at some abstract joke, and switched our glasses while assuming to acclimatize my shawl. He about noticed. Lauren did. From above the room, her announcement flickered aloof for a second. That smile faltered, not abundant for anyone abroad to notice, but I saw it, and it algid me. 15. Account later, aggregate unraveled. Kyle stood up, suddenly, animadversion over his drink. His easily trembled. He decrepit article unintelligible and approved to walk, but his knees buckled. People gasped. Addition alleged for help. Lauren rushed over in a altogether choreographed panic, but her face had gone anemic below her makeup. He burst to the floor, eyes rolling back. Paramedics accustomed fast, too fast, about like Addition had accepted them. In the chaos, Lauren afraid my arm. What happened? She hissed through clenched teeth. I stared at her, my articulation flat. I anticipate you know. She didn't respond. Aloof stared at me, jaw clenched, breath uneven. It was the aboriginal time in years I'd apparent her accumulation crack. At the hospital, Kyle was stabilized. They said it ability except been an allergic reaction. Trace amounts of something. they were still active tests. Lauren played the addled wife cycle beautifully. Crying in the cat and mouse room, clutching tissues, allurement, all the appropriate questions. I backward quiet. I didn't acquaint anyone about the glass. Not yet, because now I bear to apperceive why. That night, aback at my apartment, I couldn't sleep. I paced the floor, activity over every alternation I'd had with her that night. The timing, the smile, the glass, the way she'd kept attractive at her phone. Article was wrong, added than I had realized. The abutting day, I alternate to the estate. Kyle was still in the hospital. The agents had been dismissed. The abode was quiet. I didn't knock. Inside, Lauren was sitting abandoned in the active room. A canteen of wine in her hand, attractive out the window like she was cat and mouse for Article or someone. She didn't avoid, aback she saw me. "You shouldn't be here," she said flatly. "Neither should you," I replied. "What was in that drink?" She didn't answer. I absolved closer. "You meant for me to booze it, didn't you?" "Not him." Still, she said nothing. Aloof looked at me like I was a addle she didn't appetite to solve. "Why?" I asked. "What did I do?" She laughed, a cold, alveolate laugh. "You consistently anticipate aggregate is about you." "Afresh, who is it for?" She angry away, her announcement unreadable. "You broke everything," she said quietly. "You accept no abstraction what you've done." I waited for more. She didn't accord it. Aloof sat there silent, sipping her wine like the apple had an aloof absurd open. But Article in her articulation ashore with me. It wasn't aloof anger, it was fear, panic, even. And that told me this went far above affinity rivalry. I larbored afore I did Article I'd regret. After that evening, I got the alarm from Addition. I hadn't announced to in years. Madison, Kyle's adolescent sister. She was out of boondocks and hadn't abounding the party, but she'd heard about the adventure and was aggravating to allotment calm what absolutely happened. She asked if I could accommodate her, said it was urgent. We met at a quiet coffee boutique, the abutting morning. She didn't decay time. "I don't anticipate this was random," she said. "I anticipate Lauren's been aggravating to get rid of Kyle for a while now." My claret ran cold. "What?" She leaned in. "He's been aggravating to annulment. Her for months." She refused, said she'd abort him if he left. Afresh aback they're throwing this big ceremony bash. That wasn't love, that was a distraction. She slid a book above the table. Screenshots of emails, coffer transfers, an archetype of a prenup alteration. Kyle had been angry to reverse. I stared at the pages, the addle pieces assuredly beat into place. Lauren hadn't been aggravating to aching me. Not originally. She'd meant to adulteration her husband, but she anticipation I ability doubtable something, so she acclimated me as a decoy. Handed me the booze in advance of witnesses. If Kyle went down, she could accept affianced it on me. Claimed I brought the canteen to him, said I'd consistently hated their marriage, and if I went bottomward instead, accessory damage. Aloof one added affinity animosity gone wrong. Except I switched the glasses, and now Kyle was animate and Lauren was scrambling. I looked at Madison. "We charged to go to the police," I said. She nodded. "I've already announced to a lawyer, but that wasn't the end. Because that night I got a bulletin from an alien number. You're in over your head. Airing abroad, afore you affliction it. And afresh, I heard the aperture bulge to my accommodation. Rattle. Aloof once, like Addition had approved to accessible it, a fresh silence. I didn't Betty Bye that night either because now I knew the truth. Lauren hadn't failed. She was aloof, accepting started. Afterwards, that bulletin and the complete at my door, I didn't feel safe in my own home. I slid an armchair beneath the door knob, bankrupt every curtain, and kept my buzz at accoutrements ability all night. I kept replaying Lauren's words in my head. "You broke everything. You accept no abstraction what you've done." She wasn't aloof aggravating to get rid of Kyle. She was aggravating to Carbon her absolute life, and I had aloof agape over her aboriginal, Domino. The abutting morning, I didn't go to work. I didn't acquaint anyone area I was going. I took the beam drive Madison had accustomed me, arranged in brief bag, and arrested into a bargain auberge above boondocks beneath a affected name. Paranoid maybe, but Lauren had money, connections, and acutely aught averseness about application either. By noon, Madison and I were sitting above from a detective at a quiet precinct presenting everything. Emails, coffer records, the prenup dispute, and my affidavit about the booze switch. The administrator listened patiently, demography notes. I accepted skepticism, but his eyes narrowed at the acknowledgement of Lauren's abrupt allurement and the near-perfect timing of the paramedics. Aback, I told him about the bulletin and the aperture handle. He didn't besom it off. "Do you accept Aegis cameras in your building?" I befuddled my head. Aloof, a active entry. "We'll call what we can," he said. "If your sister's complex an article. Deeper, we'll acquisition it." But abysmal down, I knew this wouldn't be simple. Lauren was careful, meticulous even. She wouldn't leave a aisle unless she capitaled to, which meant we were arena her game, not ours. 2 canicule passed. Kyle remained in the hospital beneath observation. Whatever he had ingested hadn't acquired abiding damage, but the doctors still weren't abiding what it was. Article rare. Article about undetectable. The detective alleged and accepted that Edition had tampered with the building's alien access keypad about midnight, the aforementioned time I heard the handle. No face, aloof a gloved hand. Abundant for suspicion, but not abundant for an arrest. Afresh, Kyle woke. Up and aggregate changed. Madison and I met him in his hospital room. He was pale, groggy, but sharp. Aback, I told him about the canteen switch. His face went white. "She said it was the abruptness ceremony drink," he murmured. I didn't alike anticipate twice. He didn't appetite to accept it, but he wasn't abashed either. That told me everything. "She's been algid lately," he admitted. "Controlling. Afresh, she got weirdly sweet. Too sweet. I began a burner buzz in her board after most month. She claimed it was for work. I didn't push." Kyle handed us a notebook, one he'd hidden in the lining, of his gym bag. He'd been documenting aberrant things for weeks, withdrawals from accounts he didn't authorize, conversations she denied any time having, things confused about the house, and, best notably, a canteen of pills that appeared in the chiffonier one day bare with no explanation. That was our smoker gun. The detective took the anthology and the canteen Kyle had buried beneath the bed. He beatificate for toxicology analysis. 3 canicule later, it came back. A admixture affiliated to digitalis, a artlessly occurring but baleful bulb toxin. Hard to ascertain in low doses. Easy to affectation with alcohol. It was enough. Lauren was arrested the afterward week. The account hit the bounded columnist first. Prominent couple ceremony ends in adulteration plot. They didn't name me, but they ran her mugsh shot. People were stunned. Friends who acclimated to a base over her went quiet. Her amusing media went dark. Her law close alone her afore noon. Aback, I saw her again. It was at the arraignment. She didn't attending at me. Aloof stared ahead, jaw set as the accused were read. Attempted murder, fraud, control of a controlled substance. I anticipation I'd feel satisfied, but all I acquainted was tired. Lauren didn't accomplish bail. Her assets were frozen, and Kyle's attorneys confused fast to admit annulment proceedings. He thanked me genuinely, but there was a weight in his voice, like Edition who had been sleeping abutting to a loaded gun for too long. I alternate, too. My quiet life, my tiny apartment, my job. The apple confused on, but I didn't. Not really, because aback your own sister tries to adulteration her husband, maybe you, and blames it on ancestors' tension. That doesn't aloof ablution off. But it didn't end there. 2 months later, I accustomed a letter. No acknowledgement address. Inside was a distinct photo. Me, from a baft, walking out of the precinct. On the back. I told you to airing away. I appear. It. The detective added it to the file, but they couldn't trace it. No fingerprints, no DNA, and I knew Lauren ability be a baft bars, but she wasn't finished. She never played the abbreviate game. She played the continued one. Revenge through blackout through patience. She had consistently been acceptable at burying seeds and absolution them abound in the dark. Still, I don't animate in fear. I upgraded my locks, I got cameras, I break active because some belief don't end with courtrooms and headlines, some belief aloof abeyance and wait. That was... The moment I accomplished with addition like Lauren, the absolute crisis isn't what she does next. It's what she's already set in motion.